I'm not getting stronger anymore. I might be getting bigger, building muscle, but it's not correlating into strength. There's not a great correlation to the main movement, but it gets something really, really fucking strong, right? So like a football bar, to me, a football bar is a builder movement, right? It's a different, your hands are in a different position, so you can't get the lats the same way. It's a whole different position. But from the tricep strength and the lockout power, like it's almost an extension in a way, right? Just in a different groove. It's in build up that around the elbow, so that's a builder. Whereas a tester has a direct correlation. So like a regular floor press is a tester, right? And if your floor press goes up, your bench press is probably going up. And so that's how I looked at it. I always looked at it was like, is this showing me that my bench strength is up, or is this building my bench strength? And, that's kind of like the reverse band. Occasionally we do like reverse band board press. Well, that's not a tester. Mm-hmm. That's a builder, right? Because it's overloading. We're allowed to do this. It doesn't tell us shit. We have no fucking idea how much have we hit on this and how much is our bench press. We have no idea, right? And so to me, builders tended to be a little bit further away on the variation than a tester. The closer it was to the main movement, the more it was a real tester. Further away it was, the more it was.
Now, when you would cycle back to that same tester again, say a floor press to the floor press, and it wasn't better, or just a little better, but you knew it was just only better because it was a different day and it was 5 pounds more that you could have done the last time. What changes would you make to the training from there?
A lot of that was looking at the accessories, right? And I always thought, when Lou talked about special exercises, I always thought of it as accessories. Mm-hmm. So what are we doing, right? And if I've been doing the same accessories, then what needs to change, because obviously I'm not getting stronger anymore. I might be getting bigger, right? Building muscle, but it's not correlating into strength. So what needs to change? And that's a lot of what I would look at with exercises when I would do them is like, what muscle group is this hitting? Okay, I've been hitting the same muscle group for the last 8 weeks. Maybe it's time to change. And the crazy thing with strength is that it doesn't take that long to make a big difference. And the only way I can think of it is like, let's say you get your glutes 5% stronger. Well, that might unlock 15% strength.
Yeah.
And that's the weird thing with strength. Like when people get big PRs, like you've seen it. Every seminar you do, you set someone up on the bench correctly and they've hit a 50-pound PR and they're fucking blown away by it. The way I looked at it is every movement is a full body lift, and the better a lifter was, the more they understood that. The beginner lifters, the bench press was a chest lift. Well, when I bench press, I barely use my chest. I pull it down with my lats and I drive it up with my triceps. And now with the new shirts, you got a lot more shoulders in there and stuff like that. But the shirt did the work for the chest. So when I did the bodybuilding and they said, oh, you need upper chest, I started thinking about it. I realized my arch on the bench press, every time I did dumbbells, anything, I would do the same thing, arch up. I was in a decline position 100% of the time. I'm building a ski slope over here. I didn't have any upper pec. And so bodybuilding, what it did, and I wish John, I'd known him before I was powerlifting, right? Because he kind of was underground for a while, and then he kind of popped up and started working with you, and but the knowledge he brought, what it made me realize was that like the whole mind-muscle connection is a real thing, And when you're powerlifting, like and let's say you're doing a tricep extension, right? Or push downs, right? And your triceps get tired, you start using your shoulders and roll it. Fucking, what good is that? The movement is supposed to be to develop the tricep, right? And so it's the minute the triceps turn off because you've exhausted them, you start using a different muscle group. Well, now you've changed what the purpose is. With bodybuilding, what I learned was lighter weights sometimes bring bigger results. And I started realizing like, oh, okay, with powerlifting, the interesting thing is like we have this mentality, always go as heavy as possible. And I started piecing them out. What if we looked at the body as pieces, and main movements and maybe secondary movements were designed as, full body movements, and then we started building around that. So what was interesting when I came back and I started looking at the bench only guys, like talking to them, sending different text messages, and you're like, oh yeah, you're going to have to do a lot more like bodybuilding style workouts because, these bench shirts don't support you here and here and here. And I was like, oh my gosh, like it's almost like they've by mistake fallen upon the thing that I was thinking about, because the gear has taken away some of the support that you feel, right? And mental side is a big part of the game. So that to me is like what most people need to be thinking about. And, I've worked with a few lifters I don't have a crew or nothing like that yet. Hopefully I can, build that over the next few years. But just talking to the few lifters I have when I see them in the gym and stuff, like they have no idea what's going to help their movements. Like they're lost because they're in the gym on their own. Nobody's teaching them nothing. So they're just following a sheet and they're doing what's on the sheet, and they have no idea if it's going to work or not. And that's weird to me because like for me, one of the big things with Lou not being a coach, like because Lou's a coach, but he's not a coach. Mm-hmm. He's only going to tell you if you ask him. He ain't writing nobody's program out. He ain't telling what you do every week. Like if you said, what do you think I should do? He'd be, I don't fucking know. What do you want to do? Right. He remembered everything though. He knew my PRs better than I knew my own PRs. But the thing with Lou not being a coach is it forced you to think. It forced you to like, okay, if I want to do this at the meet, I'm going to need to do this, this, and this. I got 16 weeks. How am I going to lay out the 16 weeks? Okay, I'll do 2 weeks of, let's do some lactic acid tolerance training. Let's do a strength speed cycle, and then we'll do 2 speed strength cycles, and then we'll do our Circamax. And Lou never would be like, what are you doing? Like, because, you would think of that. And some of the other guys, they didn't care. They just showed up. You know? Tony Ramos was one of those guys, like he didn't understand anything, but he just would come and train and get strong. And that's the cool thing about the gym is you can be anyone in that gym because you trusted the people that you were following, But that's the thing that's missing now. Like when you go into gyms, that they have a pre-done program that's written out for the next 16 weeks. How the hell do you know how you're going to feel in 8 weeks? Like, what if you get hurt? What if you get injured? What if you do one movement and your shoulder's messed up this week and you can't hit the numbers? Like, do you come back the next week and try it again? Like, and that's what's strange to me a little bit. And everybody seems to be okay with training alone too. It's like, I don't know if social media has created antisocial people. Cause my whole training, I was in high school. So we trained as a team. Then I was at D1 level in the weight room with the other coaches, and we had teams. And then I trained with Brent and a team. And then I went to Westside with a team, and I was only alone for like a year, and I fucking hated it. So I've never thought to myself, I'd just train alone. As soon as I got back into it, I'm posting, and I got one guy that is a shirted lifter. He's trained with Scott Mendelson, so he knows his stuff. Mm-hmm. He's kind of still young, learning, but he's dedicated and stuff like that. But there's like no other geared lifters in the area. So I'm like, okay, we'll have to convert some raw lifters at some point. Mm-hmm. And that's why I'm getting back involved in stuff, because I figure if I'm just around and put up big stuff, eventually some people won't want to train, But it's just interesting to me. I can be in the gym and other powerlifters will be in there lifting and they'll come spot and they'll talk to me. Oh man, that's really impressive. And then they go back to doing their own thing.